everyone. Welcome, everybody, to the High School Hockey Report. I am not John Kidd. He is on vacation getting married. I am Kevin Troczynski. I will be taking his spot today. Alongside me is here Sean Baligian. We are presented by the MHSAA, the Coaches Association, and National Coney Island. Sean, playoffs have already been kicked off. What was your biggest thought, coming out of the weekend?
There was fantastic action all over the great state of Michigan. I think one that jumps out to me is, if I may, I'm going to start up in Division III. Look, we've been talking about it all year. The way Corey Markham's team plays, they've certainly made some statements. A lot of people, yours truly included, thought that the winner of that might just win it all. I thought it was Calumet. Coach Markham and the Gremlins thought otherwise. They got a big 3-2 victory. So that certainly is one that jumps out to me. How about what Forest Hills NE has done? I was talking to some of the guys out there. It reminds you of maybe the overtime magic that some teams have had in Stanley Cup history. Going and winning games in overtime, and they're going to have an opportunity for a big statement against Heartland. But so many good games. I know, Kevin, we were talking a little bit before the show started. The run that Salem's on right now, getting that big one against Farmington. That Farmington story was a great story. I don't think many people saw that going down the way that it did. And then Northville giving them all they could handle before Salem comes out on top. Kevin, I know that's something you were watching, but I mean, those are just a few of the great stories so far.
Oh, no, most definitely. I happened a chance to cover that game versus Farmington for Salem. And, going into that game, I thought, Farmington would, give a little bit of a fight, but it didn't end up being that way. They blew them out 7-0. And like you said, they go on to play Northville, and, they squeak by a win 3-2. So, got to watch out for Salem. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. They didn't look strong, but, they got into the dirty areas where they needed to go, and, they capitalized on their opportunities.
I'm a big Coach Ossenmacher guy. We've had him on the show before. I can guarantee you they're going to be ready. He's putting in the tape. I mean, they've got the monster challenge against them. Make no mistake about it. Catholic Central, still the team to beat, still number one. I'm going to wait to put out another rankings until the season's done and do a final rankings. To me, it'd be kind of silly this week with so many big games yet to play, but make no mistake about it, Catholic Central is number one across the board. They have just gone about their business, and now it's the nitty-gritty, and that they've had this time of year on their mind for the past year. So that is going to be an interesting matchup moving forward. But, so many good games. Byron Center's a team that we talked about, and thoughts go out to Jacob Freusland and his family. Howell is a team that I've mentioned a few times on the show. And let me tell you something, Kevin. In Division II, Howell, I had a chance to see them both at Farmington Ice Arena, and then I had a chance to see them twice out at Novi Ice Arena. Props to the Highlanders. That's a team that maybe to a lot of people came out of nowhere, but they won a couple games. They won a thriller against Novi, and let me tell you this. They gave Livonia Stevenson all they could handle. And Livonia Stevenson was a lot of people's favorite in Division II. Heartland just keeps rolling. It's amazing what they keep doing. So, they've got
defending
a big
champs.
One. Yeah, defending champs, and they're playing like it. They got a big one coming up against Forest Hills NE. Birmingham Brother Rice, which was arguably the hottest team in Division II heading into the playoffs. They keep getting it done. And I'm really intrigued at Marquette and Petoskey, because we talked up Marquette, Kevin, a couple months ago, and I had them ranked, but the way Petoskey's playing right now, that's an intriguing matchup. I had Marquette going on. We'll wait and see how that plays itself out.
That's right. Big game coming up in that same division. Livonia Stevenson and Trenton. Whew, that's going to be a big one in that quarterfinal matchup.
Well, with all due respect to every other game, I'm not sure that there's a better matchup out there. With all due respect, by the way, we'll get to Division III in a second. I think there's a doozy coming up with DCD and Detroit Jesuit, but Livonia Stevenson and Trenton getting together is awesome. And I'll tell you this, it's really turned into a cool, friendly rivalry. Now, it's a rivalry, make no mistake about it. And the friends, there are no friends when they drop the puck in Dearborn. But let me tell you this. I think, Coach Clemens is such a class guy. Coach Mitchell is such a class guy. These two teams have gone head-to-head so many times in the past few years. That is going to be a dandy in Dearborn on Tuesday night.
Let's talk about, UD Jesuit. You just, quickly talked about them real quick. They've been on fire as of late in the playoffs. I think they've scored over 24 goals in the past 3 games in the playoffs. They're on fire right now. And, I think a lot of people don't give them the credit that they deserve.
I agree with you. And maybe I'm one of them. I mean, all jokes aside, at the beginning of the year, I was talking them up as perhaps the team to beat. Now, make no mistake about it, they're still in that group. But, as we talked about at the beginning of the playoffs, Kevin, I'm sure you're aware of this. I called this side of the bracket, it was really the bracket of doom. Because there were so many good teams in there. Just to reiterate, you had Cranbrook in there. I think you had a Liggett team that was playing really well in there. You had De La Salle in there. Obviously, you had DCD in there. So this is a situation where these two teams have had to fight and scratch and claw their way just to get to this point. And that's going to be a dandy on Wednesday night. DCD and Detroit Jesuit, we've talked about it all year. I don't think Coach Novak and Sam Avola and the Yellow Jackets are going to let go of that crown easily in any way, shape, or form. It's going to be tough for anybody to beat them. That should be a dandy in Division III. I kind of like the way Big Rapids is playing as well. I mean, the Cards are playing really well. And, I've been talking up East Grand Rapids all year, and the Pioneers keep getting it done. Houghton, what more can you say? I mean, Coach Markham, you talk to anybody that has played them, and he's such a good guy as well. Congratulations to him and the Gremlins once again. Going up against Alpena, and Cooper Black has been an incredible story. And Kevin, I'm going to say this again. It's one thing to have people put that circle on you and say, look out for this team. This is a really good team. And it's quite another thing to actually live up to it.
Right.
And Alpena has done that and then some. So Coach Limbach, Coach Givens, outstanding. And then, hey, I mean, last but certainly not least, how about you've got Riverview Gabriel Richard, making another run. It looks good on Ricky and the gang over there. And Coach Robert trying to take his 3rd team to the Final Four. I mean, that's insane when you think about it. But a great job out there with Ann Arbor, Gabriel Richard, and Green Hills. I mean, tremendous job out there. So that's going to be one to watch. But already, you know what? I mean, so many good games along the way. And, that's the beauty of a tournament like this. We talk about it so much, Kevin, but it bears repeating. The level of high school hockey has improved so dramatically in this state. And I think you've seen that play itself out with some of the matchups leading up to this point.
You talk about that, and I think that's kind of been slowly happening the past couple of years where the high school, the level of competition has really, grown to where it is today. And I think, those players who went to AAA, played hockey, Belle Tire, Little Caesars, they want to play for their high school. They want to wear that jersey as opposed to playing for Belle Tire. They want to play for their school. And I think it's a great opportunity.
No, you're right. And you know what? You're seeing kids move on. And we keep saying it. You see guys saying it on Twitter. There's more here. That's something that's made the rounds, and you've certainly seen it. One thing that I'd like to do before the year's over is, I'm going to get with a bunch of the coaches maybe after the tournament's over, and for our final show, make a list of guys that have moved on to bigger and better things, whether it be into one of the junior leagues, the North American League, the U.S., guys going into colleges now. Another one. Logan Genuine from that outstanding team from Romeo that won the championship a few years back. He's heading over to Arizona State. I love seeing that. We mention guys like that for a reason. To your point, the kids are seeing that there's a place to go now. And you take a look at so many of the programs this year that took a step up, and it makes you say, okay, what are you going to do for an encore? And, you know, teams that maybe didn't make it all that far this year, but took a big step. You know, St. Clair Shores, you know, again, I mean, when you bring your win total like that is something that you should, you know, really make a point to point out. And, you know, another one, Canton. You know, Canton really took a big jump this year. So what are you going to do for an encore? That's what makes looking ahead a lot of fun. But before we do that, we have to look ahead to this weekend's games as well.
That's right. That's right. Let's go to Division I here. What's coming up? We have, like you said, Detroit Catholic Central and Salem. We talked about them real quick. Salem. What's going to be the go-to thing to, give them a tough matchup for
You know what?
Central?
I've said it once. I've said it 50,000 times. I think the thing that is underappreciated from Catholic Central. Yes, they're deep. Yes, they can score. Yes, they have incredible forwards up front. And obviously in Clemens and Corpy and Gaffney. I think their blue line is just stupendous. I mean, they really are. Their blue line is stupendous, and you make a mistake against them, and all of a sudden they're going the other way with speed. So you're going to have to put together a near coaching plan to knock off Catholic Central. Again, I think people have to remember this is a team that lost a grand total of one game in state last year. And unfortunately for them, it was in the semis at USA Hockey Arena. They haven't lost yet in state. So they remember what that sting felt like, and they're uber focused right now.
That's right. That's right. Moving down over here a little bit, Orchard Lake St. Mary's and Rochester Adams RU.
Yeah, you know what? RU has been a great story. They just keep winning. We recognized them, about a month ago, and they just keep winning games. Orchard Lake St. Mary's, I think, might be a little surprise. I think it's safe to say that Coach Clano and the gang, didn't have that banner season. It doesn't matter. When you play that MIHL schedule and you get that opportunity against Brighton, they made the most of it. One of the guys on our potential player of the year list, Bryce Callen, certainly getting it done there. That is going to be an interesting matchup, to say the least, in Division I.
Moving down, DeWitt and Saginaw Heritage. Saginaw Heritage really blew up this year, really under the radar. We know who they are now. That right there is going to be a great matchup, because what do we expect? Well,
Saginaw Heritage, to me, has been a program that's been going like this. They made the Final Four in 2013 in Division II, and they've made runs everywhere. And I think you'll remember the run that they made last year. And I think a lot of people just thought, okay, Brighton's going to smoke them, especially after beating Catholic Central. That wasn't the case. Saginaw Heritage gave them all they could handle. They're really lighting it up right now. It's been a joy to watch them from afar, and I've had the opportunity to see them one time this year, so I'm looking forward to seeing them again. After getting to the finals last year, it's been a mission for them, much like Catholic Central, to have that return engagement at USA Hockey Arena.
Moving down to that same bracket, Traverse City Francis and Byron Center.
Yeah, Bay City reps, Bay Area reps. What a great story there. And, it was funny. They gave me a little bit of the business on Twitter. I don't mind that at all. Honestly, congratulations to you guys. That's awesome. I took somebody else on that side, and they proved me wrong. So props to you guys. It's a great story out there, what you guys are doing. A shout out to the entire gang out there. Byron Center is a team, Kevin, we've been talking about it all year. East Grand Rapids, Byron Center, East Grand Rapids, Byron Center. Who's the best of the West? Byron Center doing the job right now, but that's going to be a tough game for them to win. And I mentioned it before, but I'm going to mention it again. Certainly, everybody here thinking about Jake Freusland. Jake, get yourself well.
National Coney Island is serving up what you love, fast, fresh, and friendly, like our award-winning Coney, honey, or handcrafted burger. So you can get what you want, when you want it. National Coney Island, your craving is calling.
There's an old saying, you can never have too many officials. The age of the average official is 52 and getting older all the time. We're constantly recruiting new people, younger people to join us. After you register with the MHSAA, look on the website to find an officials association near you. They'll put you in a position to succeed as an official. We all learned a lot from high school sports, and officiating is a great way to give back to the game. There's help wanted. Just whistle.
Touchdown, Falcons.
Welcome back to the High School Hockey Report. I'm Kevin Troczynski, filling in for John Kidd. He is currently in Florida where the weather is warm, and we're up here where it's nice and cold.
Is he doing a great job or what? You're welcome anytime, bro.
Thank you. All right. Next thing we're going to talk about here is Division II.
Yeah.
Forest Hills Eastern and Heartland. You know, we got the division, defending state championship.
Well, and a chance for redemption for Forest Hills NE. They're such a great story because, I think in talking to some people, you have to remember the high level that they've been at. And in my mind, they have been almost nearly the automatic choice the last couple of years for best on the West Side. And they didn't have the high caliber year that I guess we're used to seeing from NE. It wasn't a bad year by any stretch of the imagination. And the one thing that you have to say is when you're winning games the way they're winning, they win one game in 4 overtime, they win another game in double overtime, maybe, just maybe, fate is smiling down upon them, and they have a chance of redemption against Heartland. Heartland's got their mojo back, down the stretch. I mentioned it, Kevin. They were bruised down the stretch, and bruises heal. Their bruises have healed. Make no mistake about that. But listen, you have to like the defending champion here. And in my mind, after an epic MIHL matchup between Rice and Port Huron Northern, in my mind, that sets up just a dandy at USA Hockey Arena. Heartland and Rice getting together. You got the defending champ against, again, arguably the hottest team heading into the playoffs. I actually had them at number 4 in the state. One reason why, and I had to explain this to some Rice people because of my rankings, one reason why is, Brother Rice has to play a team like Heartland, potentially, and then turn around, 36 hours later and play perhaps Trenton or Livonia Stevenson. We'll see how much of a factor that has when all is said and done. But that could be a dandy at USA Hockey Arena, and that would be, if I'm not mistaken, that's the early game. So I think that would be a lot of fun.
That's correct. That's actually a 5:30, 5 o'clock game.
Yep,
Sorry.
Early game there.
Marquette and Petoskey.
Hey, I love that game because, I had Marquette from the second I saw this bracket, I had Marquette coming out. Again, the Redmen are a team that we've had ranked. But Petoskey, you have to give them credit for taking care of business. They knock off the old veteran in Traverse City Central and then knock off Mona Shores. Petoskey's a great story. I just think that the story ends there. I've seen Marquette play a couple times. It's a good team. You know how those teams are from the UP. I like Marquette in that one. And Stevenson, Trenton, I'm not just saying this. I'm not trying to be PC, okay? Take a coin, flip the coin. Heads is Stevenson and tails is Trenton. I mean, honestly, that's the way this one goes. If I were you, I would completely forget about the game that they played at the showcase. Completely forget about it. You know that Trenton has forgotten about it, and Stevenson has forgotten about it as well. Stevenson won that game big. That means nothing. This is something different. Trenton has revenge on their mind. Stevenson knows that they have revenge on their mind. This is 6 of one, half a dozen of the other in this one. But I think, to me, the difference in this game, you have 2 really good goaltenders, Cormier and Polson. Which guy can make the stop? And I'll tell you what, I've seen both of them play very well, but right now, Polson is really playing very well for Livonia Stevenson. I think that could be the difference in that one, and that could set up the late game on Thursday, the Redmen taking on Stevenson at USA Hockey Arena.
One last thing we're going to talk about here, Division III.
Kevin, I said it day one. And you know what? These guys have proven me right. And it's not very often that you can prove me right because usually my big mouth gets me in trouble. You guys did it. Division III is the most intriguing division, in my mind, by a wide margin. There are so many good teams in Division III, so many teams that can make a case of being standing there at the end. About 4:30 on Saturday, Championship Saturday. And, the way that I look at this right now is, I picked Calumet to win out of Division III. Obviously, that isn't going to happen. My potential champs are alive in Division I and Division II. But should that surprise anybody? Because, again, if you followed it this year, Division III probably has, off the top of my head, 10 teams that could say, yeah, when all is said and done, we can be considered the number one team and we can win our way there. As I mentioned earlier, I'm really, really intrigued at Gabriel Richard Green Hills. Clint Robert's done such a good job there. Riverview, Gabriel Richard. I have to stick with who I went with to start. I'm going to go with Gabriel Richard there. Houghton and Alpena is outstanding. And I'll tell you what, Cooper Black, the Alpena gang, they like to refer to themselves as the pesky cats. You've been pesky. You better be at your pesky best because you know how hard the Gremlins are going to come at you. That should be a dandy, but I'm going to go with Houghton there. I'm not going against Sam Avola and the defending champs, not in this round against Detroit Jesuit. Yes, at the beginning of the year and really for the first couple months of the year, I thought that UDJ was the best, but the way that the Yellow Jackets are going right now, I'm going to take them there. And I've been riding with East Grand Rapids, and I'm going to stick with East Grand Rapids. But I'll tell you what, if you look at this potential Final Four, and you got Riverview Gabriel Richard, and you've got Houghton, and you've got Detroit Country Day, and you've got East Grand Rapids. Oh my goodness, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's the beauty of it, But if I had to pick one, and I have to pick one because that's my job, and that's why you guys get mad at me and taunt me. Again, shout out to Bay Area reps. I appreciate that. I got no problem with that. You guys deserve that. But I'm gonna go with Corey Markham and Houghton. I kind of felt that the winner of that game might put themselves in a chance to win it all, and Houghton could do that. Houghton and DCD getting together in a potential championship game would be magic, but that's why we play the games.
All right, Sean, we're going to touch up here on the Player of the Year race. What information do you have for us on that?
Well, as anybody has been paying attention, we got a lot of guys playing each other this week, so that's going to be very intriguing. If you know our criteria, a lot of our criteria is really based on how far your team goes and what you do in those big games. And there are going to be guys that have an opportunity to make a statement, oh, by the way, against each other as well. I'm going to use one as an example. You got UAD and Detroit Country Day coming up, okay? Ben Charbonneau's had a tremendous year. As I mentioned earlier, without mentioning names, I had a coach out of the KLAA tell me that's the best forward he's seen all year. He's going head-to-head with Sam Avola.
Yeah.
High drama, baby. That's what it's all about. Not only do you have the stakes of who makes it to USA Hockey Arena, but, for all intents and purposes, you might have a case of who makes a stronger case to make it into our Final Four. Now, just a reminder, the leading vote getter automatically is in. You guys pick one of the four, and we really thank you for all your votes. We're going to close our voting on Wednesday. I think Kevin's going to have this ready to put out tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. Right, Kevin?
Yes, I should have.
I don't want to put any pressure on the guy, all right?
No.
But so by the time you're seeing this, we're going to close the voting on Wednesday. So you have an opportunity to vote your guy in. That's what we do for the fans. You get one in automatic. At last check, Zach Robinson, who, to me, talking about great stories, what a great story by Brownstown Woodhaven. I think last year they made a big statement, and this year they took a hammer and pounded that statement in. The best is yet to come for those guys downriver. Great fan base, and certainly Zach Robinson led the way. He's leading our vote getting as well. So if things stay where they are, Zach Robinson automatically goes into our Final Four, and then our committee will have the very difficult, and I do mean that, very difficult choice of which three to take into that Final Four with Zach Robinson. So voting ends Wednesday. Act now.
Get out and vote, and if you don't, you're losing. We need a winner, so go out and vote.
Please.
Please do. I'm Kevin Troczynski here, in for John Kidd. This is Sean Baligian here at the High School Hockey Report. See you next week.